Hey everybody, it's Kelly with Inky Hands Warm Hearts. How are you guys? I am excited to be with you today. I have a really fun project and I hope that you will enjoy watching me make it for you. I have combined two fun folds into one, a bookbinding card and a easel card. So I call it my windmill bookbinding easel card. And what I mean by that is an easel card stands up on its own like so, but a bookbinding card opens like so, like a book, and it's sealed on one end just like this. So let's go ahead and get started, and I'm going to show you how to make it. I did use the Tulip Fields Bundle again, and you can pair that with the Flowering Tulips Bundle, so definitely check them out. They're on the mini catalog on page 14, 15, 16, and 17, and I hope that you will check it out. If you do not have a mini catalog and you do not have a demonstrator, let me know. My contact information is listed below. Click on that See More button and you can get down to all the information there. It will show you all the products that I've used today, and it'll also have my contact information. If you designate me as your demonstrator, I would be happy to put those catalogs in the mail to you. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to use our Simply Scored tool. As you see, I have pulled it out, and we have a piece of 11 inches by 4 1/4. I have a sheet of cardstock. Instead of cut down the long side, it's cut down the 8.5 inch side at 4 1/4, so it becomes 11 by 4 1/4. We're going to score in 3 spots. We're going to score at 2 1/8, and the 1/8 inch marks are each of these little marks is an 1/8. So we're going to go 2 and 1 tick mark is 2 1/8. We're going to go 4 1/4, which is 4 and 2 tick marks, and then 5 1/2, 5, and this larger one in between the 5 and the 6 is 5 1/2, and that is our third score mark. I'm also going to put a tick mark in the middle bottom of my card. So this is going to be my card front. It's going to fold like so. So on this section at the 2 1/8 mark, I'm just going to put a tiny tick mark with my piece, just marking that 2 1/8 section right there. And I'll show you why in a minute. Let's get the Simply Scoreboard out of the way. All right, so let's burnish on all of our score marks here. So we're going to, I always like to make sure they're nice and straight. So there is my burnish. Now, this is the part that forms my bookbinding section. So it's going to be glued into place right there, and the card will open and close like this. So now you can see my card is on a point, and it stands on its own like this. It's an easel. So in order to get that point there, I'm going to have to trim, and that's why I marked that little tick mark at the 2 1/8 section. I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to go to the 2 1/8, and I am going to cut on an angle right up to this score mark right there. If you want to use a larger bladed scissor to help you, you can do that. I'm going to flip this way. I'm right-handed, and it's just easier for me to cut with my right in the right direction. So if you're left-handed, you may want to cut the other way, but let's go ahead and trim both of those right to that score mark. Now we can discard these pieces. We don't need them. So now we have a bookbinding card that will be able to be bent like this and stood up. All right, so now let's go ahead and let me give you all the other dimensions that we're going to need for this card. So we're going to have a piece that's going to glue right over the top here. It's this section here where the windmill is. And we're going to have some DSP pieces that are on the top and bottom section here. And we're going to have some cardstock and DSP in the middle, as well as this beautiful label. I'm going to go ahead and stamp this and get that part out of the way before we start gluing any of our layers. And we're using Poppy Parade, and the sentiment is out of the Flowering Tulip stamp set. It says, "No one deserves a happier birthday than you." Now this label is from Tasteful Labels, and it is a last chance product. So I use this second one here nested inside of this larger one to cut this label that I've used right here. And we're just going to ink that up, make sure I have plenty of ink on there, and give it a nice stamping. And there it is. No one deserves a happier birthday than you. So that's all the stamping we're going to be doing on this card. So I'm going to go ahead and clean my stamp and get that out of the way. Now we're going to be doing a little bit of gluing. We're going to glue a layer of designer series paper over this section. And now this piece is 1 inch by 4 inch. So let's go ahead and attach that onto, whoops, onto my card here. So that's going to go right here, 1 inch by 4 inches of designer series paper. I'm using the Flowering Fields designer series paper. This section here is 1 7/8 by 4 inches. And we are going to attach it onto this section right here. So there is that piece. Now we're going to address this part here, and we have these. This is a piece of designer series paper that's 2 3/4 by 2 3/4, and this piece of Poppy Parade is 2 7/8 by 2 7/8. We are going to glue the two of them together. And you can see we have a nice nested little square there. We're going to turn it like a diamond though, and we are going to attach it right here. Since I am just going to be attaching onto this point, I'm going to go ahead and use my wet adhesive. And I'm going to put adhesive on my cardstock in a triangle right there. And then I'm going to press this onto it, leaving a small border. I want the points of my triangle to fall below my score line so that it will fold really easily, and I have a very thin border of the daffodil there. Okay, see how easily that fits and how nice it looks on top of these DSPs. We are also going to seal this part closed next. So before we do that though, I'm going to do that let's go ahead and do it. We're going to go ahead and put some adhesive in this section right along here. And then that will seal this. I'm going to grab my bone folder and press that part down. So now we have a book binding card. See how it is sealed? And this area here is 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. So I wanted to put a piece of Poppy Parade cardstock inside. That was 4 1/8 by 4 1/8. So I just had a tiny bit of the Daffodil Delight cardstock popping around the edge. So let's go ahead and do that. So there we go. We have our 4 1/8 by 4 1/8, and we're going to make sure all our little edges are even. And there we have that in the center. Now, 2 more pieces of designer series paper. We have 2 squares that are 2 inches by 2 inches, and I cut them out of 1 piece of designer series paper. As you can see, they meet. That is crucial if you want it to look cohesive. So really what you want to do is cut a piece that is 2 inches high by 4 inches across, and then cut it down the middle so that when you separate them, they join like so in the middle, because we're going to cut these on the angle, and I'm going to show you how we're going to use them. So I'm going to cut this one here down this from point to point, just using my scissor. And this one is going to lay here, and this one is going to lay here. They're going to get glued just like that inside. Now this one I want to meet across here. So I'm going to cut this one in the opposite corner to the opposite corner, just like so. So this one is going to live here, and this one is going to live here. Now when I do that, because they were side by side, they nest perfectly and they look cohesive across. So that's the key when you want to do this. So let's go ahead and use my silicone mat, and we're going to glue this last layer in. This card is coming together really quick and easy. And I'm going to leave a tiny border of the Poppy Parade, just like I left for the daffodil. Let's go ahead and grab this one next. You can use your paper trimmer if you prefer and don't think that you will be able to cut a good angle with your scissors. So it's up to you how you do it. And we'll do this one next at the top. Go ahead and glue it in up here. Again, leaving a small border of the Poppy Parade. And then our last piece right here. Our card is coming together very quickly, very nicely. I hope that you're following along with me still. All right. So now we have this really cool section here, right? So now on the outside, we have this pretty section. We need to fill it with our windmill. So let's go ahead and put our windmill together. I've cut two pieces, one of Mango Melody of the solid back of the windmill bottom and one of the detailed in the Daffodil Delight. So I'm going to go ahead and put some adhesive, wet again, on these larger sections. And then I'm just going to put a tiny bit of adhesive down the edges so that they will also bond. And down these middle sections here. All right. So let's go ahead and attach the two of those together. Again, Mango Melody is the back and Daffodil Delight is the top. And I use scraps of cardstock to cut out with my die cuts. With my dies, these two die cut pieces. All right, let's grab I always have when I'm using wet glue, I always have a baby wipe on hand to wipe my hands, or just in case I make a mistake, I have to wipe something down. Now we're going to attach the top of our little windmill with a brad, and it is from the Round and Square brads. You get quite a lot of them in your package. They're well worth the money, so check them out. We're going to take our take your pick tool and we're going to pierce right through this section here and just make a little hole so that the brad will have a place. I've also used a scrap of Daffodil Delight here to attach our windmill piece. So I'm going to go ahead and place the two of them together, and I'm going to grab my Daffodil Delight, what do you call this? Stampin' Blend. The name escaped me for a second, and I'm going to just color the top of that brad that was white in Daffodil Delight so that it will match. I'll show you on my original in a minute. It doesn't take long for the brad to grab that color, so you can do it rather quickly when you're working on your project. But see how it has a Daffodil Delight center now, and it matches. It doesn't stand out, it just forms as part of it. So now we're going to put on the back some dimensionals. I'm going to put 4. I think 1 up here where the brad is to keep it from sliding around. We'll put 2 down here, and we'll put 1 right in the middle of our windmill. So let's go ahead and pull the backs off. And we will attach our windmill on the front of our card here, making sure that it fits within my little diamond, polka dotted diamond there. Looks good so far, right? Little by little, we're getting our card together, guys. I'm so pleased with how it looks. Now, we need something for this easel to hold against. So what I'm going to do is I am going to put some dimensionals on the back. Let's put 1 up here, 1 on each corner. I'm going to put another one at the bottom. I really want this section here to be held up because it's where the easel is going to be grabbing. So I'm going to grab my take your pick tool, we'll pull the backs off. And I'm going to open my card where I want it to be. I'm going to show you this one. I wanted it to be nice and tight. So I'm going to do the same thing here, and I'm going to place this just a tiny bit below center. And I'm going to attach my label down first, and then make sure that my easel forms nice. Looks great so far. Oh, we're doing so good. I'm so pleased with this card. I hope you're following along with me and everything is making sense. The final step is to attach our ribbon, and I'm using the Real Red sheer ribbon. I think it's such a beautiful ribbon. I'm gonna go ahead and put my card down, and I'm gonna wrap it around this book binding section. So let's go ahead and stand it up so that it will be out of my way. And I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it around. I think it's about 16 inches maybe of ribbon. And you may not need quite that much, but I like to have just enough to tie my knot. And I'm just tying a knot, that's all I'm doing. But I want it to be nice and tight. I don't want it slipping off, so I'm gonna pull it taut. If I can get it, the end here through my loop, there we go. So I'm gonna pull it really tight. Now, I don't like my bows to have a really tight knot. As you can see here, I have a nice fat knot right here. So to get a fat knot on a sheer ribbon, you need to tie it really softly. So once I've anchored that ribbon down, when I do a second knot, I can choose to leave it nice and full, like that one right there. And my two ends are out. I'm going to trim those away. So let's trim those down. There's one there and one over here. And then I'm going to use a mini glue dot. And I like to use my Take Your Pick tool to grab the mini glue dots off the roll. So I'm going to grab this one here, and I'm going to put it behind the knot so that it does not wiggle around on my card, and it just stays nice and anchored. So there is my ribbon with my nice fat knot. You'd never know that I tied that knot really tight there. And there is our card closed and our card opened. Now, our final step is always the embellishment, right? So we are going to use these beautiful rhinestones today. So I am going to grab, this is a rather old pack of rhinestones, but they're still the same. So we're going to put a small one, maybe right here on our windmill. And then, let's see, I'm going to use some larger ones because I really like them to stand out along the DSP, and if they're not big, you can't really see them. The bigger the diamond, the better, right? So let's go ahead and put those right there. And there are my 3 rhinestones. We're going to go ahead and put this one up. This one can stay down, or vice versa. This one can stay down and this one will be up. I want you to be able to see them in both ways. Let me hold it for you guys to see. I hope that you enjoyed watching me put this card together. It certainly has been fun to do this. It's quite a simple card. You can see it wasn't too hard to put together. Just a few pieces of cardstock and dimensionals, a little bit of DSP, and some die cuts, and you have yourself a beautiful windmill bookbinding easel card. Thanks for watching. This is Kelly with Inky Hands Warm Hearts. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share, and comment. I would greatly appreciate that. And definitely check out the description below where I will have a link to my blog. I do blog 7 days a week. You'll get lots of inspiration there, inkyhandswarmhearts.com. And also there will be a link to all the products that I used. If you'd like to contact me, there's information there to do so as well. I hope that you have enjoyed being part of this process. Thanks for tuning in to my channel, and I will see you next time. This is Kelly with Inky Hands Warm Hearts. Happy stamping!